Hi, everyone. Welcome to the latest Carson's Take 5 with Ryan and Sonu. Sonu, it looks like you're actually on location for the first time in a while. You've been all over the place lately. We'll get into that. But we're calling this one More Good News. 2 weeks ago right now, Sonu, the market was crashing. There was fear. And now we're like a chip shot from all-time highs. And we're going to get into some of the reasons why, because we're having some good news. But have you ever seen anything like this, how quickly emotions swing?
I mean, emotion swing is always part and parcel of being an investor, being an active participant in markets, which I think all of us are, especially folks listening to this. But one thing that's surprising is how quickly the pendulum's been swinging these days, right? We go from one extreme to the other extreme. Suddenly everyone is like, oh my God, things are wonderful. There's no, we're going to get that soft landing for the economy. 2 weeks later, everyone is like, oh, the house is on fire. And then here we are 2 weeks later, after a good set of data points to talk about that, the market's rallied for 8 straight days and things are looking okay again.
Yes, I mean, I've done this for 2 decades, and I think a lot of it might be social media, a lot of how connected we are. But the reality is, again, emotions swing even further, or faster is a better word to use, faster and quicker than any time we've ever seen. And that means you can get these violent pullbacks like we saw 2 weeks ago and then just as quickly snap back. So let's think about that. The time we're recording this, the S&P is up 8 days in a row. Now, if it were to be up another one, you'll hear about it. If it does hit 9, that'd be the longest win streak in 20 years. But just focusing, Sonu, on 8-day win streaks, I've got the data here in front of me. They're rare. I mean, this is rare. This is rare air where we are. The previous 4 years that saw an 8-day win streak, here's what the S&P did the full year, implying these moves take place in bull markets. In 2013, we saw one, gained almost 30% for the year. 2017, we saw one, gained almost 19% for the year. 2019, we saw a long win streak, almost 29% for the year. And we saw one back in 21. Stocks gained 27% back then. Again, lots of ways to look at this. I've heard a lot of people tell us this is just a bear market rally. Just a bear market rally. I think they've kind of stopped that tune as much, a couple days off the lows. But the reality is this buying thrust, this is strength that we've seen is not consistent with the bear market. It's not consistent with a bear market rally. It's not consistent with the end of a bull market. Sonu, you tend to see strength like we've seen the past 2 weeks at the beginning of a new bullish phase. Now listen, September, October of an election year, I wouldn't be shocked at all if they were violent, choppy, some scary headlines. That's probably going to happen. But just bigger picture, this strength tells us 6 months, 12 months out, if the economy hangs in there like you're going to probably talk about, this is still a bull market. Now, you want to add anything to that and then talk about the economy on what some other good news?
No, one thing that's happened is in this rally, especially since 2 weeks ago, the S&P 500 is up about through yesterday meaning Monday of this week, right? So that's August 19th. Markets rallied 8 straight days in a row. It's gained about 8%.
Yep.
But it's come on the back of good positive economic data. We saw that the labor market is healthy. There was a lot of worry, I think, after that last employment report for July, showing the unemployment rate went up to 4.3%. But we got initial unemployment benefit claims data that's showing that basically, long story short, layoffs are still low in the economy.
Yep.
Right. Then we got good producer price index data. It's part of, it's essentially the prices companies pay for, input prices, right, for the goods they produce. And that's come in benign as well. CPI, the consumer price index, was benign, 2.9%, the lowest since 2021. That's where CPI is.
Yeah.
And then we got retail sales, right? On August 15th, we got another good initial unemployment claim benefit data. And retail sales went up. We saw in July 1%. That was well above expectations. I think expectations were for a 0.2% increase. 1%. That's a big beat. Now, a lot of it was on the back of auto sales.
Right.
Wasn't surprising. We knew that was going to happen because we got auto sales data for July, at the beginning of the month. But we saw gains in other places too. People are spending more in general stores, places like Target, Costco, things like that. People are spending more in health and personal care. Online sales, Ryan, over the last 3 months, right? Now, this is Amazon Prime Day was in June, early July, somewhere around there. It's up 12% annualized last 3 months, May, June, and July. I mean, people are spending, and part of that is as inflation falls, real incomes adjusted for inflation, are hanging in there. It's pretty strong. It's similar to what we saw before the pandemic.
Well, no, great stuff there. I know there's 14 categories the government looks at when it comes to retail sales. 11 of them were higher month over month. So again, it wasn't just about the autos. There were a lot of other groups that were strong. So the consumer, are there cracks? Yes, there are some cracks to the consumer, but the underlying pinnings of this economy is the U.S. consumer, is consumption. We're still seeing a lot of good things. Also, you mentioned inflation. The New York Fed does a survey, looks at how people expect inflation to be. Keep this fairly simple. 3 years out, inflation expectations, the lowest ever in the survey. The survey is about 10, 11 years old. So people are expecting now improvements in inflation. That's something Powell has said, Jerome Powell in charge of the Fed, has said for years. He needs to see, because in the 70s, he had this feedback loop that people expected higher inflation, and in a way, it kind of happened. We'll just keep that fairly simple, but in a way, but now we're not seeing that. People are expecting to see better inflation, which is a good sign. Also, we could talk for an hour on this one, but we're not going to make it real short. Small business optimism soared last month. It's the highest level since February 22. I would personally rather trust small businesses than most economists out there. They have a better pulse of what's going on. So that's another positive thing. There's a lot. Sonu, any final comments? How about this? You were in Europe. We talked in Europe. You were at the U.S. At the tennis tournament in Cincinnati.
Open.
What's it like to be home? You haven't been home in a long time. What's it like?
I know. I'm back to my old setup. So I go to the gym today, and somebody asked me, "How's your back doing?" I was like, "I haven't sat in my desk on my chair for a month now. I've been on sabbatical, and that's done more than anything else. It's done wonders for my back." But we'll see. Things go. No, it was a great trip. I got to spend a lot of time with my children. I just realized I haven't spent 4 continuous weeks with my kids. Not even after they were born, because I went back to work after a week, 10 days, 2 weeks, whatever. But 4 weeks straight, right? I've been with them maybe, a couple of days last week in Columbus. Their grandparents looked after them. But yeah, it's been fun. 90% has been great. 10%, there are moments, but it's been good.
Well, I mean, you have moments like when the market's crashing and you have to jump on a special call, but thank you for helping during yours. My wife and I were talking because obviously Carson pushes for this and tells you to take a sabbatical at 5 years, and I'm at like over 2. You blink, it's going to be mine. I was already thinking, like, what do I would do for my sabbatical? I was like, ooh, I could do something. Then I'll leave all the work to you and everybody else. You'll see what it's like when you're gone, market's crashing. Like, where's Sonu? Oh, he's having fun. But no, you've earned it, so thanks for your 5 years, and here's to many more. But everybody, and we went a little sidetracked there, but hopefully enjoyed that. But listen, there's some good news out there. There's some scary news out there also, but we think the good news continues to be more prevalent, and that's why we've been more optimistic. We think the economy is going to avoid a recession. We're still in a bull market. There's going to be scary moments like we saw 2 weeks ago. Perfectly normal. We'll be here every step of the way, every week, as we continue to do these Carson Take 5. So with that, hey, it's almost September. It's kind of crazy to say. It's almost September. We're winding in the football season. So anyway, everyone, we'll see you next week. Thank you, and welcome back, Sonu. Take care.